Hello and welcome back to the final part of our vegetable series. We've done modeling, we've done textures, we've done composition and lighting, and now it's finally time to render out our scene. In this tutorial, I'm going to explain how I usually go about my process of rendering, and hopefully you will learn something from it. I've seen a lot of people asking, how can I speed up cycles? How can I make my renders faster? And we'll go through a couple of points in this video. Hopefully they will help you out and you can do your renders faster. So let's get into it. So this is the scene that we have so far. When I do rendering, I usually do it in cycles. So this is the first thing we have to do. We're gonna move to render properties and we're gonna move to cycles. I use the experimental feature set because some of the options in Blender kind of work better, or for some micro displacement, that sort of stuff, but it doesn't matter. I exclusively render with the GPU compute. And in my case, if I go under my edit and preferences, under my system, you can see that I have two RTX 2080 Ti's, generously provided by NVIDIA. We'll be having a joint tutorial series soon for character creation and for motion graphics creation. Huge shout out to NVIDIA for helping me out on this one. Otherwise, I usually just use CUDA, but in this case, I always go for Optix. So if you have the option, use Optix. If not, use CUDA. Doesn't matter what type of video card. In my case, I had different ones. I had like a GTX 9050, some obscure type, and I would still prefer rendering out on the actual GPU than the processor. Now we can take a look at some of these settings. So the render is kind of huge at 1,000 samples, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend using that many. We can start, for example, at 250 samples. I usually start at that rate because it's a bit easier then to try and decide what looks better and what doesn't. We'll take a look at light paths, and this is something that I've seen in a lot of Blender Guru and Gleb Alexandrov's tutorials. So the usual way I go about it, 12 total max bounces is too much. So I usually drop them down to 8. The diffuse and the glossy, I drop it down to 3. The transparency, if I don't have any in my scene, I just drop it down. And the transmission, I also drop it down. Volume is important when you're doing volumetric stuff, but in our case, we're not doing it. So why bother using it? For the direct light, I leave it at 0, and for the indirect light, I always set it to 4.5 by default. And for my filter glossy, I set it at 1.5. So these are my light path settings. So these are the initial light path settings that I use. So next, I'm gonna take a look at the performance. Now in the performance, you might notice I have this auto tile size thing. And this is again a very useful add-on. If we go into our add-on tabs, you can try and find auto tile. So render auto tile size actually predicts, or rather takes a look at your GPU and tries to calculate the most optimal size of your tiles. In my case, when I tried it, and I tried testing it a couple of different ways by changing the tiles, trying to calculate the proper tiles and everything, it came out that the auto tile size, by a rule of thumb, is usually very useful to use, and it does yield very good results, at least in my case. For the acceleration structure, final render, this sort of stuff we don't need for stills, so again, we can leave it as is. I always go with the Filmic view transform, and I always dial back in a bit of medium high contrast or high contrast depending on what the scene needs, as long as I'm not blowing out the whites of the picture. In my next step, you can see I have this resolution set at 1350 by 1080 at 200%. And I usually do that because I put the actual PNG picture and then I do some minor post-processing in GIMP or whatever type of program I'm using for post-processing. For the output, I always make sure I'm RGB, color depth of 16 and 0 compression. And for metadata, just to keep the output a bit lighter, I take away all of these options because I don't need all of that metadata. If you have Optix or RTX cards, you also have the Optix AI Accelerated Denoising. That's color, albedo, and normal. I usually use all three of them. I just put it in itself and it basically renders out with denoising by itself. For people who don't have Optix or you don't have this option down here, I don't suggest using the built-in denoising. It's very finicky. I never got it to work the way I wanted it. I always had really strange results with it. So either I go Optix Accelerated or I go with the denoising data. So under passes, choose the denoising data. And that's extremely important because you can set up that denoiser in the compositor. So if you've been living under a rock like I did for 2 months, basically I think it's IBM or some sort of company or Dell or I don't know, I don't remember which one. Basically they made a special denoiser for Blender. It's a denoising node. Actually yields really good results. So we can just divide our screen. We can go under the compositor, use the nodes, and we get this. So if you don't have denoising data enabled, this is all you will see. So you need to enable denoising data under your view layer properties. And to set it up, you just grab the denoise node, Shift A, search for the denoise node, and you put it in between. You connect the noisy image to the image, denoising normal to the normal, denoising albedo to albedo. And that's basically it for what you need right now. So I'm not just going to go with the denoise and the denoising from Optix. I'm just going to tick off the denoising for Optix and I'll just use the default denoise node over here. We can search for a viewer node so we can see our results when they are rendered and click on backdrop so they will appear in the back. Now so this is usually when I start to do my first renders. Now, what I want to do right now is go back to my output settings or output properties, and I'm going to drop this down to 100% because I'm doing like a test render. If you have a situation where your computer is not as strong, or if you have a weaker graphic card or processor, try going 50% or 75%, as long as you can see, or rather perceive what's happening in the scene. Right now, we're ready to render. And I can just press F12 and start rendering my first result out. So we are updating. You can see everything is trying to work, trying to figure out what's happening. Where is it happening? We can see that we have quite a bit of noise over here, but the denoise node should actually take care of it. You can see we have about, what's this, 25, 24, something like that seconds of rendering. Let the node work. And you can see we have everything denoised. This is perfectly fine, though I am a bit bothered by this because it starts to become a bit too splotchy, so I want to take care of this. Right now we are at 27 seconds. I'm gonna change the slot to number 2, so I can re-render it into another slot. And let's take away this denoise node, and I'm just gonna do the image. Just gonna connect the image, and I'll open back the denoising from Optix. And we can re-render again, so we can see what's happening with the scene that we've set up. Let's see how much it takes with the Optix denoise and how effective the Optix denoise is. By first looking at the thing, we're getting sort of the same result. So slot 1, slot 2 are basically no different. So we have 27 seconds for the first slot. In the second, with the Optix denoise, it's 25. Now let's do another one. Maybe we don't want that splotchiness, so we can increase the number of our samples. So let's see if that helps it. So I'm going to go really wide. I'm going to go 400 samples, for example. I'm going to connect the denoise again. I'm going to turn off the Optix denoise. I have the slot number 3 selected, so I can start rendering. So this now is 36 seconds. And if we compare the third slot, which is our denoise node, with the slot of number 1, we can see that it's a bit more precise in its tracing. I'm going to jump to slot number 3. This is completely fine from outside. And let's go with slot number 4. And I'm going to open the denoising from the Optix. And I'm just going to reconnect the image for both of the others. So this one took 34 seconds, and if we compare it to the slot number 2 of our previous Optix, you can see that there isn't much difference, which is kind of surprising. So slot number 4, slot number 2, there's not a lot of difference. And now let's compare this fourth slot with the best of the denoise. And you can see that the denoise actually took care of some of the splotchiness inside, though those were more of like shadows that add a bit of detail, so it's not entirely sure what's happening there. But again, with the denoise, it works kind of well. Now, when I get to this point, I try to go and see how low can I go with the samples. So if this is a still image, I'm not that concerned with. So I'm just gonna go, let's say 150 samples, and I'm gonna render it in slot number 5, and I'm gonna use the denoise for this one. Okay, in this case, we have 150 samples at 19 seconds. And let's take a look at our first example. So it is kind of foggier, but not as much. So let's focus on the carrot for now, and let's go through our slots. Now this is a bit clearer and a bit crispier. The slot number 2 was with the NVIDIA Optix, which is kind of okay. The third one was the denoise at 400 samples, so not very good. And the slot number 4 was the NVIDIA Optix at 400 samples. Now let's take a look if we drastically change the sample number. Let's put it up to 1000. Now we're gonna make one render with the denoise at 1000 samples, and we're gonna do one for the Optix at 1000 samples. So let's try those. And we're done. So this was done with 1000 samples with the Optix NVIDIA, and this was done with 1000 samples on the denoise node. So with the denoise node, it was 1:16, and with the Optix was 1:12 seconds. So in this case, it's just finding what you want. So in our case, I think it would be sensible to say to go about 300 samples, and I would use the denoise in this case, and I'm going to render it at 200. So then I can import it into GIMP, and that's going to be it. And done. So 1:51 seconds for a 200% resolution image. The denoiser worked fine. The main thing is that we obtain the detail over here, so it doesn't splotch the actual wooden displacement. I'll just do a couple of more corrections, maybe move the camera slightly, see if a different orientation helps, and that's going to be it. So yeah, that's basically how we finish our series. We've rendered out our final image. Hopefully you like it, or hopefully you've learned something from it. Hopefully this rendering tips video was useful. I know this is information that's laying around, but I always see it in little pieces or chunks. I never see it compiled together. There's a couple of really good videos. Some of them hold up, some of them don't. I personally use a lot the denoise, the Optix denoise. I have these two RTXs that are just making my life much easier. I know it's a cliche thing to say, okay, just buy a new GPU. And the thing is, not many people are fortunate enough. Not many people are making this as their day job. It's a hobby thing, so you're not gonna spend $2,500 on a graphic card. It doesn't make any sense. If you have enough client work to actually accommodate this, okay, then it makes sense. But otherwise, why would you? So you can do a lot by just using the denoise node, just playing around with the samples. You can do a lot with just those things. Hopefully you've learned something from this series. If you follow this series and you've made something, please add me on Instagram or something. I would love to see your creations. Even for other stuff, I get a huge kick out of posts from people that are following the tutorials, and it's amazing to see how people can take some of this stuff and turn it completely around or do something completely different. This is just showing you how my process is. It's not gonna be the same, but you know, sometimes it's good to test new stuff. This is it. We're finishing with this one, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.